13th of July 2020. Let's check out some storms, starting with Oz, because there's stuff. Australia, we've got this big, huge low pressure system moving in towards Western Australia. Look at the stream of shower clouds moving in behind the cold front. And that's going to bring strong winds into Western Australia, but more significant is this storm system, which actually we saw in the GFS in the last outlook from several days ago, many days ago. And this is wrapping in heavy rain and even snow into the southern Alps. And that's going to develop more. Let's take a look at it. It's certainly looking very East Coast stormy, with a very persistent band of heavy rain coming in to southern New South Wales. That's Sydney in there. And that is just going to be getting lifted up on the mountains and bringing... This is a cold core upper level low pressure system, so there's actually cold conditions in here, which is destabilizing the atmosphere. And this is a warm current of water, so that fuels these thunderstorms. Here's the view of Thredbo, and it looks pretty snowy. They're getting a good dump up there. A good way to look at this storm is to look at the mid-level. This is about 5,500 meters temperature, and now you can see the big bulging cold core low pressure system in the mid levels. But as we move forward, you'll see it progress across the coast and then gradually warm as all of those thunderstorms and other rainfall warm it up off the warm ocean current. Moving back to the surface, these are the surface winds, and watch how this system picks up as we go into Tuesday. The winds really pick up, and if you see the pinks, that's tropical storm force, and it picks up beyond the pinks, and really there is some very strong winds in here, pretty decent anyway, 44 knots, but it gets up to 50, maybe 60 knots. It's getting close to hurricane force, not quite there. I think 54, it's still 10 knots off, but and it looks like Lord Howe Island maybe get a lot, but this is going to be bringing in a lot of surf down the New South Wales coast, with strong winds along the coast too. By Wednesday, based on the wind patterns, it does look like this is going to look pretty impressive on satellite imagery as it fills the Tasman Sea with a giant swirl, with so many of these areas having suffered from severe burns earlier in the year. This is a potential landslide and landslip situation. Taking a look at the Eastern Pacific, we've got Christina, which is now a dead tropical cyclone, or dying. It is encountering all this cold strato Q stable air, which has really screwed it up, as is so typical in the Eastern Pacific, although it looks particularly bad, this one. And then we've got another system developing over here, which has a little bit of a healthy thunderstorm in its center. And let's take a look at how that one is going to develop. Well, it doesn't look good for it. That's the answer. I guess it's this little blob in here. Has virtually no signature in the sea level pressure according to the GFS. And let's see it develop. And it doesn't develop at all in the GFS, and yeah, that's a bit surprising. It was developing in earlier forecasts, but it looks like nothing now, so let's leave it be. So far, the hurricane system season has been, how would you describe it, dysfunctional. It has had apparently the most number of named storms, at the same time the least number over a certain period of actual hurricane strength storms. So a bit of a strange one. We're in early days, of course, so a long way to go. And the general consensus is that it will be an active hurricane season. We shall see. There have been a nice assortment of severe thunderstorms. Well, not nice for those that have been impacted, but nice to look from afar, from space. And it looks like on Monday, later today, in their Monday, there is an enhanced risk across Nebraska and Kansas, bringing more, but these are primarily wind threats down there, whereas a tornado threat at 5% up into Minnesota. So another interesting day on the plains, as is fairly typical for this time of year into the summer. The storms are shifting further and further northward and getting into Canada. I'll put on the border, something like that. It looks like things are going to remain fairly quiet in the Atlantic for the next week. I don't see anything really developing in the GFS. Another place with a vicious extratropical winter low pressure system howling through the Southern Ocean is off South Africa, and this has got a cold front wrapping in here, and looks like it's got multiple low pressure centers. This system is sweeping across the south of Africa and likely bringing giant surf across the southern coast. This has just come in from Cape Town, my god. Masses of foam piling up on the beaches of that big storm system. Over the Indian subcontinent, things are looking very wet, and particularly up into the northeast, where there is forecast to be extreme rainfall. Oh dear. In the Assam and / into the front ranges of the Himalayas in this area. Guess Bhutan too. So if we look at the total rainfall for the week ahead, you'll see it pick up. Also in western India, but if you look at the northeast, it just keeps on going and keeps on picking up, such that there is about ½ meter plus over quite a large area in Assam. Looks like tucking into Bhutan, Bangladesh. That's going to be all pouring down into the Brahmaputra River. So that's one to keep an eye on for flooding and that sort of thing. Over Eastern Asia, we've got a tropical system menacing the northern Philippines down here. The Mayu front, which has just been a huge problem this year, bringing heavy rain still into Honshu and South Korea and into China. It's just been very, very persistent. If you look very carefully, you'll also see the smoke from the volcano Nishinoshima, which is not doing its big sort of plume out towards the north anymore, but it's a bit more stagnant and collecting. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center has an orange circle for that system over the northern Philippines, which indicates medium chance of development. But let's see in the models. Yeah, I mean, looking at the European Center model, the system doesn't develop, and actually, well, it develops a little bit, I suppose, but it does head in towards Taiwan, and then it merges with the Mayu front and gets ripped to shreds by the looks of things. Overall, it looks to me like the Mayu front is continuing to bring heavy rain to areas of China and into Japan and South Korea, but it wobbles around, gets some low pressures, shifts a bit, and it doesn't look like there's a particular location that is particularly anchoring the really nasty rain. Having said that, at the end there in northern China doesn't look too good. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there as we look at the 10-day GFS forecast. And as you can see, there are very few, if any, tropical cyclones. I mean, there's a little one developing right at the end, heading towards Hawaii, but that is GFS Kane. I'm not sure that it's not in the ECMWF, but maybe something. Low pressure off the Australian east coast heads into the North Island, there it is, of New Zealand in a few days from now. And we've got the usual selection of bada bings going on down in the south, and the heavy rain in India. So, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.